supporter. If you are a new viewer here, consider liking the video, subscribing, and joining the community. I show you what my life is like. You are welcome for your positivity and uniqueness. I live stream every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Saturday and Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the remainder of 2025. Feel free to let me know. How's your day going? What were your plans? Would love to know. Today, this live stream, y'all lead the discussion. It's generally laid back the way I like to approach my streams. Hey, Jalen, how's your day going today? Glad you could be on. Thank you so much, Jalen, for sending a floating heart. Really do appreciate you. Sending you hearts with your gift. Thank you so much for sending a flower. You're helping me get one step closer to paying off my student loan debt. As I always say, all income made off of social media goes in its own separate account. And one day when I pay a portion of my student loan debt, you'll be right there with me paying a portion. So thank you again, Jalen, for your donation of the floating heart and the flower. Really do appreciate it. So, how is your day going? It's afternoon where I'm at, evening time about. Jalen said their day's going well. You got a raspberry snow cone. Okay, awesome. I don't think I've ever had a snow cone to my knowledge because I'm always iffy with the water, but it sounds really good, raspberry snow cone. So, were you cold eating it? Is it cold where you're at, or was it hot? Then again, I'm a person, I'll eat ice cream in the winter time, so understandable how you had that snow cone. Okay. Hey Ollie, how are you doing today? Hey Joa, glad you could be here. How's your day going? Welcome back to all the returning supporters. Really appreciate y'all. Shout out to all the new people on the live stream today. Glad you guys can be here. I'm Uniquely Mia, also known as Mia. I show you what my life is like. And today on this stream, it's pretty laid back. If you have a question for me, if you have a comment, if you have a concern, feel free to type it. I'll be more than happy to respond to y'all, but you guys lead the discussion for the most part on my streams. Hey Nicole, how are you doing today? Glad you could be here. Okay, Jalen said not really. It's about 80 degrees in Texas. Okay, so yeah, it's like it's summer weather, so understandable why you got the snow cone. So very nice, very nice. Did anything else eventful happen today? It was a school day for me. It's a Monday, so it's just editing some papers, working on study guides for me mostly. So yeah, nothing too bad. Hey, how are you doing? Show, glad you could be here. How's your day going? Hey, Obi, glad you could be here. How did you know that I was Somali? I didn't know that. I don't think I said you were, but glad you could be here anyway. Hey, Joe, keep shining, girl. Really appreciate your kind words. How's your day going today, Joe? Jalen said, have you ever done a spelling bee when you were younger? I never participated in an official spelling bee, but my mom, she would like quiz me or test me on like words to spell each weekend, or not weekend, but every Friday when I was younger. So it's like every Monday, she would give me like a list of 5 words I had to memorize and learn how to spell. And then every Friday, she would give me like a quiz on how to spell those words out. So I mean, it was a spelling bee, but it wasn't an official spelling bee where you're like in an auditorium and you can win like a trophy for it. What about you? Have you participated in a spelling bee before? Hey, how are you doing? Glad you could be here. Dio, glad you could be here. Hey, Grape, greeting from across the pond. Okay, you're in Stockholm? Okay. City, Sweden. Welcome from Sweden. What's it like in Sweden today? Hey, Show, you like my rings? Thank you so much. I like my rings as well. Glad you can like them. How's your day going? Let me know. What are we saying? Hi, my sweetheart. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. I'm Uniquely Mia, also known as Mia. Y'all can refer to me as such. You guys are welcome for your positivity and uniqueness. I have fashion videos, travel videos, eat with me, manicure videos, education videos, and a lot more on my channel. I live stream every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Saturday and Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the remainder of 2025. So yeah, definitely consider subscribing, saving the live streaming times and days, and take a deep dive into my channel. And let me know, how's your day going? What did y'all eat today? Do you have a question for me, a comment? Feel free to type it. Okay, greetings from Nigeria. What's it like in Nigeria today, show? Hey, how are you doing? Songs, glad you could be here. Hey, from Uganda. What's it like in Uganda today? Hey, Cats and Pokemon. Hey, Evan. Glad y'all could be here. 1 hour left of work, Cats. Okay, nice. Keep pushing through. When did the stream start? About 5 minutes and 35 seconds ago. Joe said, why weren't you in the movie Matilda as a kid? Because my mom didn't take me to audition for the movie, so... yeah, one thing about my family, they don't really encourage being creative in the arts. They more so play into the idea that you gotta be like, what is it? Book smart to be wealthy and successful. So yeah, I more so was conditioned and acquired the skills to do that rather than be creative artistically. Grape said dark and very gold. What? Why did you type that? I think, did I ask you something? Wait, Grape said, okay. So he said in Sweden, it's very dark in Sweden. Okay, and it's gold in Sweden as well. Okay. All right. Jalen said, I have not, okay, you've never been in a spelling bee, but I bet you beat anyone in a spelling bee. Thank you so much for your words of encouragement, Jalen, but I don't think I would do that at all. Hey, Grape. Hey, RK. Glad you could be here. Shell said it's 10 p.m. here. Have a good day, though. Same to you. Hopefully I see you in the next live stream or the comment section of my full nutritional YouTube video or YouTube short. Have a great rest of your day, show. Hey, Evan. Hey, I'm Sandeep. Glad you could be here. I am married to public administration, criminal justice, psychology, and professional writing. Hey, Braun, how are you doing today? Hey, Arnell, glad you could be here. Hey, Valentino. Hey, BB, glad you guys could be here. Glad you like my nails. How's your day going, everyone? Hey, Joe. Joe said, I didn't say why I said, weren't you in Matilda? Okay. All right. Hey, Philip, how are you doing today? Glad you could be here. Hey, Arnell. Arnell said, greetings from San Francisco, California. Wow, it's 1 p.m. in San Francisco, California. Well, I am 3 hours ahead of you, and I can say nothing interesting has happened in the future, honestly. So there's no invasion. I mean, there's no, like, super duper or public secret on how to become super successful that has been unlocked in the future. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I can't give you any inside information about the future at this current moment of time, but glad you could be here. What's your day like in San Francisco? I've never been there. However, that is where Prudence Halliwell, Phoebe Halliwell, and Piper is from. All right, we could throw Paige in there, but like she's a charm sister, but she's not like a real charm sister in my book, right? So shout out to you for being in the state in which the charmed ones lived. Hey, no one, how are you doing today? Glad you could be here. Hey, Star. Hey, Street Lamp. Kat said, how was your day, Mia? What'd you eat today? My day was okay. Yeah, it was a regular day. What did I eat? I just had French fries, honestly. Went outside and I got something from my school, so that's all I had. What about you? What did you eat today? What are we saying? Hey, Haruna, glad you could be here. Where are you from? Gambia? I feel like I've heard of that country before, but I feel like I haven't. I'm fairly confident I've heard of it. Where are you located again? Jill said, kind of look like the girl with the newts grown up, just messing around. So the person from Matilda. All right. Evan said, I think it's my hair, the way it's braided. Evan said, I was so hungry. We had guests yesterday and we, we didn't eat good food. Okay, okay. I'm doing good. Are you LGBTQ? No, I'm not. But if you are part of that community, you are more than welcome on the channel for your positivity and uniqueness, as long as we communicate to each other in a kind and respectful way, right? And you're not pushing your opinions or ideals on other individuals. We're all good over here. Hey Alam, glad you could be here. Hey Coca-Cola, you're gay? Okay, well, you are more than welcome on the channel. All right, Kat said they're getting back to work. Well, have a great day at work. You're gonna finish strong. Keep pushing through. How's the weather there? I haven't, it's sunny. It's a little windy. I feel like it's definitely getting colder for sure, so yeah. But the weather really can't decide what it wants to do. One day it's like really hot, and then the next day it gets really cold. So yeah, it's raining. Yeah, it's not raining here. Hey Street Lamp, thank you so much for liking the live stream. Okay, dog said they love fries. Okay, nice. Hey, how are you doing, Ram? Glad you could be here. Okay, Gambia's in West Africa. Okay, thank you so much for telling me where it is geographically. So yeah, I've heard of it before, but you know, sometimes you hear about countries and then you forget about it a little bit because like you don't hear that name often. That's how it happens. So yeah, but you're good. Okay, glad you're doing good, Nizal. I'm good looking. Don't worry. Okay, good for you. Good for you. Hey, how are you doing? Welcome. How old am I? It's the glory of God to conceal a matter and the honor of kings and queens to seek out the answer. That essentially means I'm not telling you my age. If you want to know my age, like the video, go to my YouTube homepage, click playlist, and watch my Washington, D.C. birthday adventure videos. If you pay attention, my age may be disclosed to you if you pay attention, right? I'm from the United States. Where are you from? Hey Christoph, how are you doing today? Greetings from Germany. What's it like in Germany today? You like my smile and my hair? Thank you so much. Thank you. Hey, how are you doing? What's your name? I want to say Fawn, but I feel like that's wrong. Pawn, right? The P, is it silent or is it not? Hey, how are you doing? What's up? What's up is that I'm just on the stream chatting with y'all, answering any questions that you guys may have. I like to stream on Monday because I do have a streaming schedule, and I do know some of my supporters, you guys enjoy the live streams, so I do try to stream at least 3 times a week, right, for y'all. Have I ever traveled to Africa? No, I've never been to Africa before. Show my nail, Street Lamp. So these are the nails that we're working with. If you want to see me do this manicure, go to my YouTube like homepage and watch my most recent full-length traditional YouTube video. I made like a full-length traditional YouTube video telling you guys the products that I use and giving you some nail tips. These are my natural nails, so I was telling you some tips on how I've allowed it to grow and just showing y'all how I did this design. I'm beautiful. Thank you so much. You're beautiful as well. You're 260 years old. Wow. Okay. Well, you are definitely very old for human years, right? So shout out to you. When you say you're 260, are you saying like you're 260 like a vampire where you don't age, or like are you saying you're like 260 where like you're a human, so like you've aged, right? Because I do, like, you often hear those stories sometimes on social media. You'll see people and they're like, this person just turned 110, and they're like, obviously they aged, right? Do I believe you're 110? I have to see your birth certificate for that one. At least in modern society, I need to see your birth certificate for that. So yeah. But how is everyone doing today? Shout out to all the returning supporters for all the new people here on Unique Lamia. Today was a school day for me, so yeah, I was just mostly working on my laptop taking notes, right? The way I'm a graduate student, so when you have graduate school classes, if you were in high school, right, or elementary school, or even, high school, elementary school, honestly, or K through 12, 9 times out of 10, when students have school, they don't really do work outside of their school. Like, they do all their work in their academic building, right? When you enter the world of higher education, that's college, that's graduate school. That's college, that's graduate school. You don't, you have to do work outside of the classroom, right? Because if you wait to do schoolwork inside of the classroom all the time, you're really going to fall behind and you're not going to be able to be successful or do that. So you guys have just told me that my chat was, I saw somebody say the chat was like disabled. YouTube gave me a false community guideline strike. So if you are a returning supporter, you know that YouTube likes to give me false community guideline strikes because they think I'm a minor between the ages of like 13 to 15. This is why I don't like streaming in my room. So shout out to YouTube's AI bot. I mean, the bot doesn't think I'm old, which is great, right? But it's very annoying because they took away my chat box. Unfortunately, I'm unable to see your comments. So I am going to appeal the decision. So the next time I live stream, which is going to be on Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll definitely be able to read your comments. Let me appeal the decision. Take action. Submit an appeal. Okay, they said within 72 hours they'll review it. So yeah, that tends to happen. So for all the returning supporters, if you guys thought I was like, what's the saying, gaslighting y'all when I tell you I don't want to stream from my dorm room anymore, look what just happened. False community guideline strike is really funny. So I'll just talk, right? If you guys want to hear me talk, you can stay on, but I'll tell you a little bit about my day, and then since I can't see your comments, I'll just end the stream, right? So the stream is probably not going to be long. Normally my streams run from it's like 15 minutes, normally my streams are like an hour to like 3 hours long. The stream's not going to be an hour to 3 hours long, right? Because I can't see your comments. But as I said, it was a school day today, so I did that. And any tips for people who are wanting to enter higher education soon? As I said, you're going to have to do schoolwork outside of the classroom, right? So when you do schoolwork outside of the classroom, that essentially means you make sure you have to read the textbook chapters, you have to review the PowerPoints, and you have to have speaking notes before you even get into class. Sometimes what I see happens with some of my peers, and you could tell when they don't read anything. They literally will not read nothing and they'll do everything after class, which I understand that perspective, but I'm like, that's kind of backwards to me. I don't like that. And you have the ability to read ahead because you have a syllabus, right? I feel like when you're in elementary school or high school, your professors, your teachers don't really give you a syllabus, so you're just working randomly, right, based on the guidelines of the professor, what you're going to learn that day in class. But as a grad student, we have a schedule that tells us what we have to do in advance. And then, but if you want to learn more, you want more advice from Unique Lamia as it relates to the world of higher education, go to my YouTube homepage, click playlist, and watch my college/grad school playlist videos because I provide you with some advice, helpful tips that I've learned throughout my university experience, grad school experience, and it's also videos showing you guys what I typically do in a week as a grad student, or mostly as an undergrad student, because that's where most of those videos came from. And then what else is there to talk about? What I'm thinking about other interesting things that may have happened today that I can share with y'all. Okay, we did that. Yeah. The internet did come back. That is good. If you're a returning supporter, once again, my school, I live on campus at my university, and upperclassmen housing, guys, they really treat upperclassmen really bad here because they shut off the internet for the whole entire weekend. So from Friday night, when I was sleeping when the internet cut off, but from Friday night until Sunday night, at 8 p.m., the internet was off, right? So I would ask y'all how your day's going, but I can't see your comments, guys. So I hope your day's going good, right? But yeah, the internet was cut off for the whole entire weekend, which is really crazy to me that they could do that, but I'm glad that they were able to get it back on because as long as the internet is on Monday through Friday, I'm good because that's when I need to do my schoolwork Monday through Friday for the internet. And then, but don't worry, it's okay. We're almost gonna be moving out, and what I will do when I move out, will I live stream it? I don't think I'll live stream my move out for y'all, just because that live stream probably have to happen inside this room, right? And like I told you, I don't want YouTube to give me a false community guideline strike, so that would really suck. But if I don't live stream my move out, I'll make a full nutritional YouTube video about it. I've never done that before, so I feel like that would be interesting. Probably a very short video, right? But it would be interesting to do that, so I'll definitely do that. And then, yeah, not a lot of interesting stuff happens when I'm at school, guys. So, yeah, there's not much to talk about to update y'all on what happened today, because my day was literally wake up, schoolwork, get something to eat, come back in, take a break, schoolwork again, and then live stream. So yeah, that's basically it. And I will probably change my manicure, right, sooner rather than later, because I'm not really liking this design. So if you see Uniquely Mia with a different manicure video, like if I post a YouTube shorts in the middle of the week, just know I changed it. But I haven't decided what I'm actually going to do yet. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah. It seems like some of you guys have found my professional email and y'all are emailing me questions. That happened before too. Let's see. So let's see what questions you guys have sent me via email. What drew me to study both public administration and primal justice? And I think you meant criminal justice. Do you see a connection between the two fields? There is a semi-connection between the two fields. I could give you two answers. I could give you like the honest truth answer, or I could give you a nice fluffed answer for y'all while I decided to study both public administration and criminal justice. The basic answer, I came in as a criminal justice student. I was just going to get the one criminal justice master's degree, and I was going to be happy with it. I would have been graduated, right? But my mom, when she was like looking at my school's official website and she saw public administration, and my mom was like, you should add on public administration. It would be very good. Like, they're not going to make you stay here that much longer. She was like, public administration is good to get. And so that's why I decided to ultimately get both public administration and criminal justice master's degrees. Yeah. But I was just happy with criminal justice. Do I see a connection between the two fields? Yes, I do see a connection between the two fields for sure. They both teach you a little bit about the law. So as I said, when you look at public administration, you learn about the law from like the executive branch perspective. So that's why if you are familiar with the United States government and things that has been happening, it's prime, or a lot of things happen with the United States government, but 9 times out of 10, the things that we as regular citizens hear about or pay most attention to is what occurs as it relates to the executive branch of government. I can be knowledgeable about these topics and somewhat speak on these topics if I'm comfortable doing so because of public administration, which is very interesting, right? So you learn if I ever want to run for a public office, right? I can do that now and I won't be totally lost, right? Because I know a little bit about public administration and how Congress and the executive branch operates because of that. Criminal justice, you learn more so about criminal law and criminal justice, right? And in addition to that criminal law, it just teaches you about like the United States Constitution and some of the foundational amendments, so some of the foundational rights, right? So let's say if my family and if we are walking, right, for like in Manhattan, and a law enforcement officer, a police officer approaches my mom or myself and they're like, hey, we would like to search your bag. That's probably known as a stop and frisk. We don't have to consent to that search. We could just be like, hey, we're really busy. 9 times out of 10, if the officer doesn't have probable cause, like if I ask the officer, do you have probable cause? And they're like, no, I could walk away. You don't got to search me. That's lawful, right? I know now because of criminal justice, right? If an officer were to come to my mom's house and knock on the door, right, without a warrant and they want to come in and search, I feel like my mom, she doesn't have much knowledge about criminal justice, so she would probably feel intimidated by the officer, right? And let the officer come in without a warrant. I can now, because I learned about criminal justice, I'm like, no, you can't come in here. You need a warrant. You have no probable cause. This isn't a hot pursuit. Like, why you want to come in here, right? So yeah, criminal justice, I do like it because like it teaches you about laws that are applied directly to you as American citizens that protects yourself, right? So yeah, very, very interesting. So there are connections between them. And if you want to learn a little bit more about public administration and criminal justice, go to my YouTube homepage, click playlist, and watch some of my education videos. So that's the connection. And then another one question, can you share a research project or paper you're currently working on? What's the key question or problem you're trying to address? Okay. This semester I conducted a research project, or yeah, I was like a policy recommendation, like, yeah. So I wrote a research project or paper about mental health, right? I focus on the mental health of offenders aspect, not surprising at all, right? All my research focuses on that. But I more so looked at the police officer perspective, right? Because 9 times out of 10 in the past when I've written research papers, I've always focused on the rehabilitation of offenders. Like, okay, offenders have mental health conditions. We know this. This is what needs to be implemented, right? However, I've never focused on the officer's perspective. And when I say the officer's perspective, I don't mean officers' experience in mental health. I mean what can be done in society to prepare officers better. What training can be provided to officers, right? To allow them to be more knowledgeable in de-escalating situations when they encounter somebody, more likely an offender who has a mental health condition, right? So I'm not going to tell you the state in which I looked at, but like, I guess I can tell you the state I looked at, right? I can't tell you the state because it's different from each state, but I looked at one state, right? The state in which I attend school. And I looked at the current training that officers are mandated to complete. Literally, guys, it's for mental health, it's between 1 to like 3 hours of training that's mandated for officers to complete. What is 3 hours gonna do? 3 hours is not going to make officers knowledgeable about like how to de-escalate a situation if somebody's experiencing a mental health condition, how to just identify the symptoms, right? That's not effective. So I identified that, and then I looked at things that are already being done, right? So if you are a returning supporter of mine, you know that like if one of you guys type in the chat, hey, I think I'm experiencing a mental health condition, I'm going to recommend the number 988 to y'all, right? 988, that is like, it exists in my state, but it exists in all states in the United States as well, right? So that's a number that's often promoted for individuals to call when they experience a mental health crisis. It's good, but 9 times out of 10, officers are not learning because it's like the calls are being directed away from law enforcement into those individuals who work at 988. And then there's also 2 more type of like alternative recommendations that exist in my state that provides opportunities for police officers to obtain training, but it's not mandated. So I say all this to say that's mostly what my research project focused on, and my recommendations ultimately were to mandate training for police officers, right? We need to make it mandatory. And so we're raising it from like 20 hours to like 40 hours in my alternative scenario. That's a lot. I don't know if it's feasible, but it's my paper. I can say whatever I want as long as it's supported by research, right? So yeah, so that's the key findings, that mental health is definitely obviously a problem in the criminal justice system, but lack of training is one reason as to why recidivism, reoffending continues to occur, and no help is needed. So yeah, if I can make like a full nutritional YouTube video about that for y'all, education video. I'm presenting about that information in class today. Not today, but on Wednesday, I had to present in class about that. So I do have speaking notes. I could have just read from my speaking notes for y'all. That probably would have been more cohesive, but I'll make a full nutritional YouTube video about it and post that for y'all. What's our next question? You emailed me. How do you balance rigorous academic work with creating content for your audience? Yeah, as I said, this is why I try to stick to my schedule when I live stream. So yeah, outside of the days I'm not live streaming, or the hours I'm not live streaming, 9 times out of 10, I'm doing my schoolwork, right? So I feel like that's mostly how I can balance my rigorous academic work with my content creation for my audience. If I post a full nutritional YouTube video, if I post a YouTube shorts, that video is scheduled. I rarely post in real time. I try not to post in real time, like obviously for safety reasons and just so I can spread out my videos a little bit more. So yeah. Has your understanding of the justice system changed since you started your master program? Yeah, as I said earlier, it's definitely made me more knowledgeable for sure. And then I feel like if you were just a civilian, like a citizen in society who has never studied criminal justice or the law in any aspect, 9 times out of 10, we can think, okay, I feel like this is what happens when we approach people, or not people, but like for somebody who doesn't study criminal justice, like my mom, right? She hasn't studied criminal justice. She studied law a little bit, but she hasn't studied criminal justice in particular. So look at my mom. She's an individual who never studied criminal justice, and let's say she's watching the news, right? She's watching the news, and a news article comes out, and it's saying, we do know, like, unfortunately, this has happened a lot in society. A police officer was Caucasian, right? Unfortunately, the victim who didn't survive was a minority, an African American, right? Or Hispanic individual, right? 9 times out of 10, I feel like studying criminal justice, it has allowed me to be aware of 2 things, or more than 2 things, but this is why. I feel like my mom, if she's watching that, and 9 times out of 10, the media reports on bad things that happen. If an officer does something good in society, the media is rarely going to report that. So if my mom is consistently watching the news and she's consistently seeing that anytime a news article drops as about a police officer, it's about something terrible that happened or something terrible that they did, my mom is going to come to the perception that all police officers are bad, that law enforcement is terrible and law enforcement should be defunded and law enforcement shouldn't exist anymore. That's the assumption my mom's going to come to because she doesn't study criminal justice. Myself, as somebody who has studied criminal justice, right, and conducted research projects in criminal justice, I know that, unfortunately, yes, racism, yes, implicit bias, yes, discrimination does exist within the law enforcement system, right? We can see that, right? I'm not discrediting the fact that that exists. However, I can also say that, okay, we don't have to be scared of police officers. I'm not scared of a police officer. I'm not. I can say that because I've studied criminal justice and I know the laws that are in place, constitutional rights that are in place to protect me. And I understand that, yes, law enforcement officers do really bad things. However, it's very rare that happens. And when it does happen, the story is often inflated and pushed to the media so everyone's hearing about that. So yeah, I feel like that's one way that the criminal justice system has definitely or studying criminal justice has definitely changed my view about the justice system, because one, it makes me more aware of saying, hey, criminal justice system is based on discrimination and racism. So I have no desire to commit a crime, right? But if I were to commit a crime, right, I would be like, okay, compared to me and a white person, I'm going to be incarcerated much longer, right? So if you're a minority, don't even think about committing a crime. Don't even think about doing anything like that and think you're going to get off with a small infraction. Even if you're supposed to get off with a small infraction, don't even think that's going to apply to you. Because it's not. Because America, the criminal justice system, it's not for our favor, right? For minorities' favor. But at the same time, you don't have to be scared of law enforcement officers. As long as you know your rights and the constitutional rights that protects you, you're all good. So yeah, I feel like that's definitely how it's made me more aware, I can say. And obviously there's a lot of other things that goes into that, but that was just the one that just came to mind really quickly. And I'm getting these questions, guys, because some people are emailing me, so that's what I'm reading off of. For all the people who just joined, I do know the chat is disabled. YouTube, they like to give me false community guideline strikes when I stream in my room. I don't know if it's my hair, if my hair makes me look much younger or what, right? But anytime I stream in my room, I get a false community guideline strike because YouTube thinks I'm a minor. Our next question is, are there any public administration policies that you've personally seen fail or succeed in ways that change your perspective? Public administration policies are just laws. Public administration policies aren't like things. Like it's not like anything specific, right? Public administration policies, guys, it's anything. It could be a criminal justice policy. That's why I can write criminal justice papers in my public administration classes. A public administration policy, it can be SNAP benefits, right? It can be TSA regulations. It can be regulations that's related to merit system principles, hiring workers, disabilities, right? That's what public administration policies are. It's not anything specific. Like public administration, it's for the executive branch of government. And remember, the executive branch of government dictates almost everything in society. The judicial branch is just judges, right? And I guess attorneys a little bit. Judges and attorneys, they interpret the law. That's all they do. They don't pass laws, right? They just interpret and tell you what they think it means. What's the other one? Legislative branch. They create the laws, right? But the executive branch, where public administration, the president, Congress resides, as a public administrator, guys, I'm the person in the background doing the research for the legislator to pass, right? So when I say this to say public administration policies are anything you could think about, almost anything you could think about, a law that exists in society, it's a public administration policy, right? So yeah. But what was your question? Are there any specific policies you personally seen fail or succeed? Any specific ones that I've seen fail or succeed? Let's see. I guess the main one that I feel like somewhat has failed, right? And it hasn't necessarily failed. It just doesn't benefit me, and like you can see it's going away, right? I feel like the merit system principles for sure, right? Because as I said, merit system principles is hiring, or yeah, it's essentially hiring based on merit, based on your skills, based on your qualifications, right? That's it. You're taking your gender out of merit. If there's merit system hiring that exists, gender shouldn't be a factor. Race shouldn't be a factor. Disability shouldn't be a factor. If you were a veteran, shout out to the veterans, but if you're a veteran, that shouldn't be a factor, right? I read an article the other day that my professor assigned, and he was like, the article said, if you served in the military, and you apply for a federal job, just because you served in the military, you're going to get additional points and your application is going to be pushed forward. How in the world is that fair when the federal government merit system hiring is supposed to be fair? That's not fair. Take that away. Like, shout out if you served in the government, but I don't care. That needs to go away. Because look at me. I've never been in the military, right? So I've decided to go to school. I've decided to get all these degrees, right? But if I'm submitting a job application and I have all these degrees, I have all this work experience, I have the highest academic scores, and another employee who served in the government, who served in the military applies for the same job, but yet they don't have a master's degree, yet they don't have the highest scores, their application is going to get pushed forward just because they served in the military. That's not fair. That's not merit system hiring. So I feel like in that aspect, merit system hiring in modern society, it has somewhat failed for sure, in my opinion. However, at the same time, merit system hiring is important. And if we're looking at history, it has definitely succeeded because of merit system hiring, African Americans and Hispanic individuals and other minorities were able to obtain federal employment, right? So it's a double-edged sword with that merit system hiring thing. But in 2025, things aren't perfect, but like we really need to go back to merit system hiring for sure. And just revise it, because merit system hiring has never truly been based on merit, especially with networking and all that. It doesn't exist literally in society that much anymore, in my opinion. What are we saying? How do you think technology and social media affects public administration and the justice system today? I do think technology and the media, it can definitely one, promote misinformation for sure, because I've been on TikTok sometimes or YouTube and people are making like AI generated videos, and those AI generated videos sometimes they're starting to look pretty real. I've definitely believed that some of the videos I've seen are real, right? Until somebody else stitches it and they're like, that's fake, right? So I feel like one, that is how technology and social media can affect public administration and the justice system negatively, because they can spread misinformation, but the way in which the video is formatted, or depending on what the characters are saying, if you've never studied criminal justice, right, or if you don't know much about public administration and what it really means, you can believe that misinformation, and believing misinformation isn't good, right? Because 9 times out of 10, if you believe misinformation and you're an adult, you can vote. So you're voting based on misinformation. You're believing things based on misinformation. It's not good for you. And two, I do think it can be beneficial as well, like technology, social media. If it is not spreading misinformation, it can make access to education more feasible for people, right? Like a public service initiative, you can say that you're engaged in. So like that's why I try on my channel to make those education videos, right? Because I feel like I'm paying a lot of money to get my degrees. I'm going through the stress or the anxiety. I do like writing papers though and researching, so I wouldn't say that's the stressful part for me, but like I am researching about these topics and writing these papers, right? So when I post these education videos for y'all, it's to like educate y'all and decrease the likelihood that people in society are going to be exposed to misinformation, right? So yeah, you can say I'm doing public service in a way for you a little bit. But yeah, that's how I think technology and social media has impacted public administration and the justice system today. And it obviously makes things it definitely makes the, spreading information much easier as well. What are we saying? If you could change one thing about how justice is administered in society, what would it be? If I could change one thing about how justice is administered in society, what would it be? How justice is administered. I mean, it's not feasible. It is not feasible because, like, I guess take away implicit biases and discrimination, but that's not feasible. Like, no matter how, it's my opinion, right? But I believe no matter how much society advances, right? People are always going to have their form of bias or discrimination against people. And I say this to say because 9 times out of 10, if you're looking at people who are incarcerated as it relates to minorities, as I always say, minorities are disproportionately represented in the criminal justice system. That means some people, 9 times out of 10, most people who are minorities incarcerated, they're falsely accused, right? Or if they're not falsely accused, they are getting higher prison sentences compared to their white or Hispanic counterparts, right? So, like, I'm a strong believer. If you commit a crime, you deserve to be incarcerated, especially depending on the severity of the crime. You deserve to be incarcerated, right? However, I do think that when judges are making decisions as it relates to minorities, 9 times out of 10, they're much harsher. And that harshness, it's because of implicit bias or sometimes just blatant discrimination. Because if it's because of blatant discrimination, 9 times out of 10, that can be proven and that defendant can get their case appealed and like a new judge can hear it, right? But if implicit bias occurs, how are you going to prove that? You can't really, like, we know an implicit bias is, right? But you can't really prove it, right? So if you can't prove something, it can't really change. So yeah. So that'll be the one thing I would change. What advice would you give to someone considering a master's in public administration or study in justice? I mean, I don't know. I like writing. I like reading. So I would say it's not that hard. It's not that, like, that's what I would say is not that hard as people make it seem to be, right? But I can say that because I like writing. I don't care if you give me like 50 pages to read. I'm going to complain about it, but I could do it, right? If I have to, I could do it. So, I guess, like, you gotta be prepared. One thing, you have to be prepared to wanting to write, right? And if you don't want to write, you gotta be prepared to do what you want to do or do what you have to do to get your degree. And when I say do what you have to do, you got to be prepared to write papers and you have to be prepared to read academic journal articles, right? And pay attention because, guys, I had a meeting last week. My professor had a meeting and some of my peers were there. And tell me why these people are older than me, right? They're older than me. They're married. You could tell that they're older than me, right? Why were they asking questions that the professor answered in class? The professor in the meeting, he continuously said, I am not giving you an example of what you have to do. I'm not giving you an example. And in my head, I'm like, you gave us an example in class. So what do you mean you're not giving us an example, right? And then the professor told the one student like 3 times, I'm not giving an example. And then another girl comes and asks the professor for an example. What are you doing? You're a graduate student. Like, no, pay attention. If you paid attention in class, you wouldn't need to ask for an example. And why are you hounding the professor, asking him for an example when he already said he's not giving you like 3 times, right? So I feel like if you are interested in getting a master's degree, whether that's in public administration or criminal justice or any writing-based field, you have to be prepared to write right? And so once again, some of my peers, I'm in a group chat with them, and all of them are saying, we have a paper that's due tomorrow, right? And people in the chat are like, I didn't even start the paper. And then one person was like, well, you could use a 2-day grace period, so the paper won't actually be due until Thursday. So you're gonna submit your paper late, and you think that's okay? That's what I'm hearing. Okay, I didn't respond to them, but like that's what they said. That's not a good reputation that they have. Like, at least for me, I wouldn't want that reputation on me. I always try to submit my paper like a week. Like, the paper's due Monday, I'm submitting that paper on Friday, right? So yeah, just be prepared to work ahead. If you can't work ahead, ask your professor in advance, and don't be intimidated to write or read. Don't complain about having to write or read or anything like that. Public administration, surprisingly, they have a lot of statistics. I was not prepared for that. All through undergrad, I tried to get away from math, right? I did like statistics, but I didn't want to do the math. So I decided, let me not do that, right? But then, surprisingly, psychology had a lot of math or statistics. And then criminal justice had math and statistics. And then public administration had math and statistics. So I got like double doses of the math and statistics when I was trying to run away from that. So it was really crazy. Could have just like studied math at that point in time. What's the next question? Are there any emerging trends in public administration or justice studies that excites you? Not really. I mean, I did see an article the other day. They said, like, not an article, I was on TikTok, and I found a news articles that said, people in, I think, I could be incorrect, but I think it's some prisoners, either in Montana, right? Montana, or what is it, California, one of those states. They said as part of a rehabilitation process, those individuals are able to have jobs, like remote jobs, and they're making like 6 figures. I'm like, shout out to you with the rehabilitation, but like, they're incarcerated. Why'd they get the job? Like, I'm the one out here who did the schoolwork, and like, they get a 6 figures. So, like, it's good for rehabilitation, right? But like, once again, to that idea of fairness, is it actually truly fair, right? But it's good rehabilitation for them, I guess. But yeah. So I want to say it excites me, but it shows that progress is being made by at least some states to aid in the rehabilitation of offenders, which is always good to see. Somebody asks, how would you explain implicit bias to someone who's never heard the term before? You go in an elevator. If I go in an elevator and a white person walks in, I'm gonna clutch my bag a little, like, subconsciously. I'll just hold my bag a little tighter if a white person walks in the elevator with me. That's an example of implicit bias, right? It's just subconscious things you do, right? Or let's say I'm at the mall and a group of like Caucasian teenagers walk in the mall, and I'm like, oh man, they about to be loud. They're about to do something criminal activity wise. I need to get out of here. Implicit bias, right? So yeah, that's what implicit bias is. It's bias that you subconsciously, you don't know you have yourself, right? Until you are in a situation, or it's just things that people may say, right? Like, if you have a friend who's of a different race than yourself, and for the longest time you've known your friend, and like you feel like they're pretty solid, they're not racist or anything, right? But then you're in a situation and your friend just says something really out there, and you're like, you look at them, they look at you, and they're like, and they're genuinely apologetic, right? Implicit bias that they themselves didn't know they had, but they were in a situation. And it's implicit biases are developed based on how you were raised, and more so it is because you have never been exposed to diversity, right? People who are different than you. So that's what I'm saying. If you have the ability to travel, don't just travel because it's fun, right? Travel because it is a form of education. You are immersing yourself in a new country, a new culture, around different people, and you are acquiring implicit beliefs and skills related to understanding different people. So you're just broadening your cross-cultural experiences, and when your cross-cultural experiences are broadened, then your level of implicit bias, or believing things that were based on stereotypes from the movie theater or other medias, is going to diminish for sure. So yeah. What do you think is the most common implicit bias people carry without realizing it? I mean, I get it a lot, but low key, I get it a lot in my live streams, but I feel like sometimes it also can just be blatant discrimination. I get like people often type in my chat, you speak so well, or you speak good. What? So that's what I'm saying. It is a form of implicit bias, but it's also not. It's low-key discrimination as well, just being blatantly discriminatory. So, but yeah, that can, because some people genuinely, like if they've only ever watched media and they grew up in a mostly rural area where they're exposed to like people of my race speaking in slangs, they may genuinely believe that the only way minorities, African Americans, speak is in slangs. There are some people, but that's a select few, right? So it's of those, if people fall in that category and they tell me that I speak so well, that's probably an implicit bias you have. But 9 times out of 10, as I said, it's just a blatant form of discrimination. And welcome everybody to the live stream. What's happening now? I'm just responding to some of your questions. Some of my supporters have emailed me some questions because YouTube thinks I'm a minor, so they give me a false community guideline strike. Do apologize for that. For the next live stream that I do on Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, at Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my chat will hopefully be back on. So if you have a question that you want to ask me, feel free to send me an email. My professional email is linked in the About Me section of my YouTube channel, right? Okay. Yeah, so let's see. I have some more questions. I have it pulled up on my computer, and I have questions pulled up on my my iPad. Okay, hey cats. All right, we got some questions. Okay, let's fluctuate between different supporters. Would you rather have an unlimited gift card to your favorite restaurant or favorite clothing store? That's such a good question. Favorite restaurant or favorite clothing store for sure. Clothing. Like, I like food, right? But like, it's very rare that I'll go to a restaurant and I want everything off the menu. Sometimes I'll probably want 5 things off the menu. I never get all 5 things, but like, it's very rare that I want everything. But if I go to a clothing store, I can pick up a ridiculous amount of stuff. And even if I pick up something I don't like, I can make it into an outfit, right? So yeah. Would you rather not know what you're doing tomorrow for 10 years? Oh my God. Or know exactly what you're doing every day for the next, I want to know exactly what I'm doing every day for the next 10 years. Every day what I'm doing for next, like, the future gives me anxiety, especially at this point. I feel like this point in my life, we can say, like, yes, I am so super duper excited that I am getting my master's degree, right? Get to go home. That's going to be great. However, there's a lot of uncertainty about my future, right? Because in the past, yes, you go on break, but then I get to come back to school. So it gave me a nice routine, right? However, all the other things that I want, right? What I want to be accepted into, it's out of my control, right? So somebody else is the deciding factor for my future, right? So I want to know what I'm doing every day for the next 10 years. That's going to decrease my stress level and my anxiety a lot for sure. Would you rather have to wash your hands every 5 minutes or never be able to wash your hair again? Would you rather... My nails, I can't expose my nails to water. But like, never wash my hair again, all the gunk. That's like accident between my hair and my nails. I love when my mom does the good hairstyles, like the cool hairstyles. Like, I don't like this hairstyle, I don't, but like, my nails? Oh my God. Why is this so hard? Would you rather have to wash your hands every 5 minutes or never be able to wash your hair? Never wash my hair. I'm so sorry. If you think that's gross, I do apologize. My hair will just be super duper moisturized. I gotta choose my nails. I can't. I gotta choose my natural nails. Have to choose my natural nails. So let me fluctuate to another question. Okay, answer that.